Hey besties, welcome to the channel. I'm Ashlyn. I'm joined today by
Hannah.
Today we're going to dive right in and talk about some of our local cryptids, two in particular that are pretty well known in this area, and we're going to start with the Seven Gables witch. This is a topic, urban legend, a cryptid, whatever you want to call it, that changes over time. The story is different no matter who you ask, but it's a very popular one, especially in my area. I used to live in the area.
I've never heard of it, like
very
ever.
popur.
So,
it's insane that she hasn't heard of it.
And
she
I've
here.
lived here my whole entire life. So the fact that I'm hearing this, I'm gonna be like, I might be a little quiet a little bit because I'm like,
so if you're into the ooky, creepy, spooky, that's why we're here. You'll notice it comes out. We get really eager, excited, enthusiastic. I know you do too because you're here, you're watching it too. So again, Seven Gables witch, urban legend. It's an urban legend because there's absolutely no documentation, no proof of anything. There's nothing on record. There are just these two mysterious foundations at the end of Seven Gables Road that have stirred all this controversy over the years, all these myths and legends surrounding these foundations, and it's drawn the eye and attention of many over the years. I personally grew up right down the road from Seven Gables Road. I can tell you for a fact that it's a Halloween hotspot.
yeah, I can imagine.
So what I know about it before we dive into what others say about it, I heard from my father that he has even heard about Seven Gables witch as far back as the 1970s, as well as other cryptids that we'll get to later. It's a foundation that is cursed by a witch. Supposedly something along the lines of a disagreement with the population happened and she cursed the land in which her house was on, of course. Typical witch story, right?
Yeah.
They always start like that. Boogie curse.
They're like, fuck you.
So she cursed the land and everything, cursed the fence at the end of the road. I don't know, there's some unclear stuff going on as to whether it was a metal fence or a wood fence, but there was some fence at the end of the road blocking her property that she cursed. Foiled by her own curse, she heard a baby crying, or what she thought was a baby crying, jumped her own fence, initiated her own curse, died months later. A family bought the house. Again, this is according to the legend that my family knows, and we grew up in the area. A family moved into said house, went crazy. The man of the house went completely crazy. It is said that he killed all the members of his family. Amityville, right?
Very Amityville. What?
Killed all the members of his family. There's a little gray area here. Some myths and urban legends say that he actually hung them from a tree. That is known as the hanging tree.
Oh, hell no.
Along the road there. It's called the hanging tree.
What an asshole.
And then proceeded to kill himself. So like the witch's curse got him. The witch's curse got him. There's another variation that just says he killed them, left them in the house, burned the house down, and then killed himself.
Oh, okay.
And there are reports, people who jump the fence and go look for the Seven Gables witch have reported hearing kids crying or walking by the hanging tree.
That's what I've heard.
When they walk by the hanging tree late at night, they see like the silhouettes of hanging bodies, or they hear disembodied cries. Witches' cackles can be heard. My dad, as well as several other hunters, hunt in the area, deer hunt around the property of these foundations. There are two foundations. I can say that for myself. I have seen them. It is surrounded by Dansville State Game Area. Seven Gables Road is in Dansville, Michigan. It's right off of Dexter Trail Road, if you're not familiar with that. And I will put a map. And then, so hunters have reported pulsating red lights that kind of like are orbs, and they pulsate in the middle of the night. Of course, hard to tell if it's another hunter or not, but it's not very often you see pulsating lights in the woods. You usually just see flashlights.
Yeah.
Sorry if you see my dog pacing in the background. We all have dogs. We all have cats. We all have kids. There's always going to be something in the background. I think he likes
pulsating red lights.
Pulsating red lights that are circular. My dad in particular has seen them. Of course, he's not one that likes technology, so he's never really recorded it.
Yeah, you would think it would be like a camera light or something.
Well, sometimes,
like I'm kind of thinking of in a debunking way.
Right.
Like it could be a camera light or it could be a laser light, but usually laser lights are green. So I mean,
well, some deer cams have the infrared.
Is it like an orb that we're talking about?
The way my dad said it was a circular, like hovering, slowly moving orb that would pulsate slightly, like dim and get brighter.
Oh wow.
Dim and get brighter.
Is it almost like
a ghost light, like how people see ghosty orb lights?
Right.
Kind of like that.
I kind of imagine it like as bright as like the back of a tail light car.
I don't know. I wasn't there. He just said red light.
But
there are like deer cams. I'm not oblivious to that.
Yeah.
Neither are these hunters that have little red infrared lights. But he said this was a big light.
Oh, okay.
Normally, when hunters are walking through the woods,
your
have
dad
a flashlight.
doesn't lie.
I know.
Your dad does not lie. He doesn't make up shit, like, ever.
Usually when deer hunters walk through the woods, if you're a deer hunter, you know this, your light is usually shining to the ground. You don't like shining the woods and letting every deer in the woods know you're there.
Yeah.
So usually it's facing down, and it's clear that it's a flashlight. It's usually accompanied by the sounds of human footsteps, little coffee noises like she just did,
I didn't know
creaks of twigs, branches, leaves
just
moving while you're walking.
of twigs and
He said this
leaves.
was completely quiet. It was eerily quiet. The area is known for producing like a light mist or a fog sometimes.
Ooh.
So it was
Silent Hill
foggy like
vibes.
that, right?
Any gamers out there? Anyway.
Oh my God. So no, and then he has heard really strange, cackly like noises.
Ooh.
Mind you, me, my dad,
that's
and other hunters are very familiar with our woods at night, daytime, fishing, hunting. We know what's out there. We know the squirrels, the barn owls, the screeching owls. Deer snort. They snort in a really weird, kind of scary way. Ask my mom.
They do.
I've heard a different variation of it.
Yeah.
But that's exactly what an urban legend is.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can scroll down. So let me read what it says here. You tell me what you think and if it sounds similar to like what I know.
Okay.
So it says there's a couple of variations of this legend that I've become familiar with, both involving an old home and a not-so-friendly witch who enjoy cursing people. One version says there used to be an old house at the end of 7 Gables Road, a road that dead ends off of East Dexter Trail in Dansville, which is the road we traverse to go to Meyer. It is also the Dansville State Game Area, which it is. Deer hunters all over there.
Yeah.
There are now only walking trails and a rusted old gate where this home used to be. There's 2 foundations, not just 1.
Yeah.
The story is your classic witch who lived in the old home and cursed 7 Gables Road. The thing about this version is the witch's actual curse, which makes me believe this story got started not because of an old house that may have been on the property, but with the old gate and fence itself at the end of the road. This is the kind of thing that starts urban legends. If the only thing that existed near that property for decades is a lonely, rusted old gate that leads to apparently nowhere, it needs a story to illustrate why you shouldn't cross it. And
it
then
almost
you come
reminds me of
into-
the stairs in the woods. Like it's there, but you're like, this is not supposed to.
Right, and it looks like, well,
So-
what happened beyond the gate? What are they
We'll get to
keeping
that one
you
in
from?
another episode.
Do you see where people get suspicious though? Because
Yeah,
it's
it's
a
weird.
road that leads to nowhere. It literally dead ends
Yeah.
in the woods. There's 2 foundations, which supposedly burnt down. Again, there's no records of anything.
Yeah.
What are they keeping you from? Why can't you drive down it anymore? Why did
Yeah.
they block it off? And that starts all this superstition
Suspicion.
around it. And
Suspicion
then
of it, yeah.
stories, legends, myths, whatever you want to call it. So naturally, 25 years later, a family moves into the witch's home as if Amityville inspired. Didn't I not just say that? The man of the house goes insane, kills his family, burns the house down, and then kills himself. Most stories say he hung himself. One story out there even says that each dead family member was hanging from one of the gables of the house. Oh, since 7 Gables Road. Get it?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, of course, none of this is true, and even they say it on their website. But this version has been circulating for decades, and I do think it's the most popular version of the story out there. Variations that have somewhat similar experiences.
Exactly.
They still hear voices. They see glowing orbs. They hear the witch cackle, and legend continues.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh yeah, and this whole thing about rattlesnake infestation. If you've heard that, comment below. Do you have evidence of that?
This sounds
Can we cite
made
this
up.
somewhere? I mean,
Like
it sounds
this-
made up, but it sounds also like it could have been a thing.
Yeah, like someone could have had a rattlesnake
So-
and then they multiplied. Like this is a weird part. So like, tell us if you've heard of this, because this, to me, when I was reading it, I was like,
It seems like
Okay.
something out of a scary book or
Yeah,
a movie.
yeah.
It could be true. I don't know. I'm not a biologist. And this is really the only mention of said rattlesnake infestation that I've seen, but I'll read it to you. It says, in her book, Paranormal Lansing, author Nicole Bray talked to a local who had stated the area once had a Michigan rattlesnake infestation, which was one theory explaining why there are numerous stone foundations on the road, as people were forced to abandon their homes and move. A story like this could also inspire the cursed land vibe, which I could see.
Yeah.
I could see that. Naturally, there seems to be a constant
that's why
argument.
it's blocked off with a gate, because they don't want people going in there.
Right, and why the road dead ends and there's nothing there and you can't really drive to it, because there are, I've seen 2. It sounds like there's numerous, but I've only seen 2 foundations on that road, which has also sparked this controversy that we're seeing on the website about which foundation was the actual witch's home, if any.
No.
Now let me pull up this other website. So this website, onlyinyourstate.com, talks about the Seven Gables Road, most haunted street in Michigan. I don't know if it's the most haunted, but the most talked about.
Most talked about.
Talks about the same thing, shows you a map. Dexter Trail there that you see, very traversed road in this area. It's like a farm, country type of setting, but very traversed road. And yet a lot of people who don't know anything about Seven Gables Road pass this road every day, and they don't even realize there's anything spooky, creepy, paranormal about it.
I passed it for years.
Whereas me, who had heard the urban legends, drove by this every time I had to go to the grocery store, drove by it. Constant traffic between hunters and people who are curious about this, but would see the sign and go, oh, the witch lives there. You know, you get that little, the witch is in.
Ew.
And I love that stuff, so I was I was loving it. So here we have pictures of what the road looks like. You can see the farm fields. It looks like an ordinary road. Right. Most people don't suspect. Supposedly, this is what the witch's house may have looked like. So now we get an idea of time period.
Yeah.
I don't know, what is that,
like
1800s? Well, it's not 1600s because
1600s.
Stockbridge itself was formed in the 1800s.
I would say 17 to 1800s.
It looks like a creepy witch's haunted house.
I mean, it doesn't look that bad. I mean, it looks kind of cute, to be honest.
No, it looks like murder happened there.
I mean, yes.
Before it burned.
It looks like
I want to know who took this picture. It says the source for this picture came from Facebook, Seven Gables Road. I want to know if you've seen this picture before and can actually cite where it's from. Can you let me know? Can you let me know who built it? Because I don't know if anybody really documented anything. Yeah. Is this a picture of the witch's house or not? It's cited as it is, but I've never seen it. And if there is a picture of the house, then there would be documentation. So why does it say there's no record? Yeah. That's what's confusing to a lot of people. Yeah. Obviously some spooky, ooky stuff. There's the road at night. I don't know how long ago that picture was taken because you cannot drive down it. Like the road itself is blocked. Let's see what else it shows. Pictures of the road at night. There's an example of the light. So you can see it's a popular enough story that the news picked it up. I don't think they're the only ones. When I was looking, there were several other news stations and paranormal groups that had kind of wrote articles and did podcasts on it, but this is one that I pulled up. Pretty popular, Fox 47. Hannah McGillery, I believe her name was. Sorry if I butcher your name. Did a pretty good idea, or a pretty good story covering all the bases of this urban legend. Talks to a Michigan paranormal group, sees the hanging tree, walks down the road, shows you what it looks like now. Wow. Feel free, the link will be below if you want to watch this. Pretty informative, pretty straightforward, cuts out a lot of the BS that might be out there and gets kind of straight to what the urban legend is and shows you around a little bit. There are several Michigan paranormal groups, I believe, that investigate this road or go back there every once in a while. And again, if you Google Seven Gables Witch, a lot pops up. Especially you just Google Seven Gables Witch, Michigan. Everything you need to know is right there. Everything that I've said is verifiable. And again, the news did a story on it. So I'm sure they fact checked a little bit too, although, the news. Yeah. So I think you get what you go looking for. It's kind of like the Rando app.
Oh, Random Nautica?
Yeah, it's kind of like that. You manifest it and you see it. Yeah. It's kind of like that. If you go in there looking for a demonic looking witch, you're probably going to see one. Yeah. If you go in there like, this ain't real, all you're going to find is a foundation. It's your experience. And it's a great example of something that a lot of Michiganders know, and a great example of an urban legend. Next, moving on. Do you want to announce the next subject?
Dogman.
The Michigan Dogman. So, what do you know about it? What do you think about it? What do you know about it already before we dive in?
Honestly, he's like the local Bigfoot.
In a way.
In a really weird way. All I know is that he is a cryptid.
Yes,
actual head of a dog and the body of a man, and his howl is like insanely distinctive. So I don't know. Let's get into it.
What I know about it is that my dad has mentioned again in the 70s, reading an article about it. He said it was more in the Baldwin area. I will attach a map. You can find resources on all the articles again down below. That was in the Baldwin area. Come to find out, it kind of is. Most of it is around the Manistee National Forest. Again, I'll show the map. It's like our own local werewolf. Tall, 7-foot, sightings as far back as the 1800s, documented. Video clip that's strange and mysterious that I'll get into. But an actual cryptid in Michigan. Yes. Now, don't get me wrong. There are talks of Bigfoot in the Upper Peninsula. The Yoopers will tell you that. We're trolls down here. Yeah. But down here, an actual cryptid that we know really well is the Dogman. It's said that he comes every 7 years on years that end in a 7, with numerous sightings happening in those years. I don't think, other than that really historic footage we have, that there's been like a video recording. There's been a Ring doorbell, I believe, or a security camera still image of one.
I thought there was a video of one I swear I've seen. And then there was a a picture of it on a trail cam.
Yes. There was a couple blurry images of one, more along the lines of just various witness cases. There wasn't photography, video equipment in these wilderness areas back then, so a lot of the eyewitness reports don't even really have anything evidence-wise other than testimony.
Yeah.
But I know it's like our own famous werewolf.
Yeah.
7 foot tall, like I said, hairy, but not all over hairy. What we're seeing with the reports of the Dogman is pretty consistent in the 7 foot tall area, but also in that his head and limbs are like a wolf, but the body and torso is a man.
Yeah.
There is one incident, which we'll get into in a minute, where an eyewitness was attacked by a group of dogs, wild dogs, and one of them was a man that stood up on his hind legs and had wolf features. But it's been pretty consistent every 7 years. He kind of just pops up and we get more eyewitness testimonies. Still thinking that the Manistee Forest area is where his stomping ground is. We don't know if it's the same person. We don't know if it's a pack. We don't know what it is. It reminds me of Jeepers Creepers, honestly.
Yeah.
Every 7 years, except what is it for Jeepers Creepers? Every whatever years he gets to eat.
Every 15 or 30 years.
He gets to eat. Yeah. So I don't really know why every 7 years is important. Who knows? If he's real, it could be like that's when he actually gets to morph. Yeah.
This reminds me, immediately reminds me, it's an old movie.
Oh yeah,
pretty old. The Werewolf in London.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an old one. Old 60s or 70s movie that my mom had me watch. And this reminds me of it, how I don't know. It just has that vibe.
Now, to me, it's... If you haven't been to Michigan, I could see where it would be like, what? A werewolf? What?
Yeah.
If you've been to Michigan and live here, you know. Not only are we the Mitten State that's known for the endless lake shores, but we have a lot of pristine wilderness. And I could see a lot
of ghost ships.
Oh, well, that's in the Great Lakes, yeah. But the pristine forest... There's cliffy outcrops, there's mountain lions, there's packs of wolves up north in the UP.
Bobcats.
There's bobcats. And what's also interesting too is the howl of this thing is said to be like a shrieking woman or a screaming man,
which
it's not
reminds
really
you of a mountain lion or a bobcat.
Right. So there could be some misidentification happening here. People who haven't seen a wolf before.
Yeah.
You see one up close, they're massive.
They are.
They're tall. They're taller than my husband's service dog, who's pretty tall.
Yeah.
I forget the weight of an actual wolf. I'd have to look it up. But I've seen like one mounted taxidermy-wise.
Right.
And I've seen them in the wild because up north, we go up north. I don't know a Michiganer that doesn't usually go up north somewhere.
Yeah, in the UP.
You hear the wolves, you see them on occasion. And they're massive. So I could see where someone who's from the city or out of state goes up north, sees a wolf for the first time, might think it's overly huge.
Absolutely.
And maybe, but the whole eyewitness reports of it standing up and like just kind of with a torso of a man. Yeah. That's unusual. And when there's a collective.
No, it's like, it's downright, not just terrifying, but it's downright strange.
I mean, not all these witnesses are on drugs, right? So
no.
the website that I pulled up about the Dogman.
Let's get talking about it.
Okay, we'll dive right in with the history. So, here's the part where it talks about the Native Americans that I was talking about earlier. Mm-hmm. Apparently, it was the Ottawa tribe along the Manistee River, which makes sense because it's the Manistee. Mm. And they're describing it as a skinwalker. Makes sense.
Yeah.
So, could explain something that you're about to see here in a second.
Yeah.
So it says, according to Linda S. Godfrey's 2019 book, I Know What I Saw, the Manistee National Forest has become the stomping ground.
Yes.
That's very evident by the amount of sightings.
Yeah.
Many encounters described in her book show the creature capably barreling through the forest from tree to tree, even in frosty weather, meaning like it's like naturally adapted for the wilderness. Whereas a human, if you're running through the snow, you would have problems.
You would kind of stumble a bit.
Everybody's heard of this.
Yeah, the legendary.
Quit recording, but we'll talk about it.
A still from the Gable film. We just talked about 7 Gables Road. Coincidence? I don't think so.
So the Gable film, I have seen this on about 3 different paranormal shows.
Yes.
And it's
I saw it a long time ago on YouTube.
It's a footage of, I believe, 1960s, 1970s of a family that... What is it?
2007.
Ah, gotcha. Okay. So it's a 2007 film.
Yep.
It's kind of grainy. You can see in it, it's like kids on a snowmobile. And anyway, towards the end of the film, you see this chunk where this man's running through the woods. And he scans the camera over and you see this black... bush-looking,
almost
massive
like
man,
like a bear man wolf.
It looks like a man wearing a pelt.
Yeah, it does.
Like a skinwalker does. They say skinwalkers wear the pelts and they transform into said beast, whatever it is. So it shows this thing running towards him, and the still image you see on the screen is what a lot of scientists have kind of looked at and picked apart. And also the part where he's running. I'm not going to show that part. You can look at that yourself.
Yeah.
We'll
try to link the video in the description.
Yeah. Below. Yep. Thank you for that. And when the beast is running, scientists have said the way it runs, the gait in which it's running, is too wide, unnatural for a human. Yeah. Even a human bent over, the way the back is like flat.
You can't run that fast either.
Right. And it was
you can't run on all fours. Even if you've done it your whole life, it's literally going to look wrong.
I think there's some controversy too as to how they found this film.
Yeah.
I don't know if they found it with a torso or if they just found the film. Let's see if it says anything about that.
Also,
I don't think so.
At the end of the video, it's like, are those people okay? I hope they are.
Nobody knows.
Who knows?
But this website I'm looking at too.
Let's just hope they're okay.
And again, you can go to it yourself and read everything that we're reading here.
Yeah.
It says
literally just go the Gable film on
that
YouTube.
will pop up the entire link, and it might even pop up the shows where it was aired on.
Yes.
So that might be interesting for you to see the scientific part of it too.
Yes.
But on these websites that we read about the Dogman, it talks about the first one allegedly occurring in 1887. It says, then a group of lumberjacks working in Wexford County spotted what they believed was a stray dog. The men chased it until it hid inside of a hollow log. Then one of the men grabbed a stick and reached into the log to poke the creature. The creature let out an unearthly scream, crawled out of the log, and stood upright. There, face to face and eye to eye with the men, stood a creature with a man's body and a dog's head. The terrified men broke camp and never returned to the area. So from then on, you get reports of the same. A beast-like creature stands up, torso of a man, head of a dog, ungodly screaming howls. It's not really a
man
wolf.
screaming/howling.
Which again could be misidentified. But point is, it's the same type of interaction. And then let's see, this other website I was reading about it.
Ooh,
this one says
statue.
every 10 years, but then they say every 7 years ending in a 7.
Yeah.
So it's another example of how it kind of gets changed.
I would believe the 7 years because 7 seems to be a pattern in this.
Right. So there's something there that we're missing, I feel like, because if it's every 7 years with a year that ends on a 7, what's the other 7? Things come in 3s. Everything comes in 3s.
Yeah.
So what's the other 7? I feel like we're missing a piece of information. Maybe they got lost in history somewhere.
Maybe.
And again, this website also states the 1887 Wexford County incident being the first one that was documented.
Maybe he's seen at 7 o'clock. I don't know. That is terrifying.
Maybe.
That's terrifying.
So the legend of the Dogman song by Steve Cook, really famous around here. I didn't hear it, I think, until like 2014. I'm not going to play it now.
I don't know if I've heard it.
Not going to play it now because I have dogs who will probably start howling if there's any kind of dog noise in here.
Start a howl.
Summon him. Oh, I bet you there's a way you summon him too that nobody's actually figured out.
Oh,
That's the witchy in me coming out. So that song is pretty famous.
If you're seeing what I'm seeing, I wish you guys could.
Oh, I'm about to show them.
Okay, because
I'm
this
about
picture
to bring it up.
is terrifying. Like, that's a good drawing.
NorthernMichiganHistory.com is where we're at right now.
Yes. We'll link it down below.
All right, look at this thing. Ready? There it is. Boom.
Look at this.
There's the song.
Look at this.
In 1987, he wrote this song. Apparently, there's a YouTube video for it.
The dog, man.
Legend of the dog. That's scary.
Yeah,
I bet you that's
that
a
is-
witness encounter photo.
That is terrifying.
And if that's a drawing of what somebody saw, I'm terrified.
Yeah. Like,
That looks like a demon.
yes. Yes.
It does look humanoid.
I mean, lower legion demon we're talking about, but
I don't even care. A demon's a demon.
Here is chronologically sightings, like famous Dogman sightings in Michigan. So here we go.
So
Take it
let's
away.
see. 1887, the first sighting we already know about happened in Wexford County, 1887, with the 2 lumberjacks. We already went over a more detailed account of that above. Spotted 7-foot tall monster with dog's head and the torso of a man.
1917, a sheriff who was out walking found a driverless wagon and tracks in the dust. It looked like wolves had been stalking. Near the roadside, a 4-horse team lay dead with their eyes wide open. The vet finished his examination and it looked like they had died from fright.
I would too if it looked like
Yeah.
1937, Paris, Michigan. Robert Fortney was attacked by 5 wild dogs. We had briefly talked about this. He said one of the 5 walked on 2 legs. Reports of similar creatures have came from Algean County in the 1950s, followed by Manistee and Cross Village in 1967.
1938, a man fishing at Muskegon River encountered a wild dog that stood on its hind legs and glared at him. Ooh.
Like a deer in a headlight,
Yeah,
but like
just-
scary.
I don't know why.
You see me, you don't see me.
Yeah, you don't see me. It disappears into the woods.
Creepily. Yeah, receding.
Yeah.
Like his hairline, probably. Sorry, that was rude. Anyway, in 2017, a Michigan truck driver had an encounter with the Dogman in the Manistee National Forest. Again, an area we know is his stomping ground. He believes this encounter changed his life forever, and he did an interview on What Lurks Beneath in the clip below, which you can look up on your own.
The YouTube channel, What Lurks Beneath, it sometimes gets a little repetitive and the story's slow, but trust me, he is a good storyteller.
Does he like dive into all the facts
He dives
and stuff?
into everything.
Oh, he looks serious.
yeah,
Is that him or is that him?
That's him right here.
Oh.
Yes. He is very good at what he does.
We'll have to check him out. I like these two examples of things that Michigan knows, like the urban legends and the cryptids that Michigan is known for.
Yeah.
You ask any Youper up north, they might say Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Bigfoot is such a thing in any pristine wilderness area, and again, we do have that up north.
And I believe in Bigfoot. I'm pretty sure she
My dad
does
does too. I believe in everything. Creepy, ooky, spooky, it's for me.
Yeah.
So, UFOs, obviously that's seen in Michigan. What else? There's this green putrid squirrel that's like supposedly ginormous.
Yeah, I never heard of that until
I never heard of it either, but it
like,
popped up in a search. And I mean, I'm sure there's more localized myths, urban legends and whatnot, haunted buildings, whatever, but these are two of the most famous that I've for sure heard about.
And we are also going to talk about our own encounters.
And we have plans, right?
Yeah.
We have plans for future episodes that involve witchy stuff, that involve ghosts, that involve talks of anything and everything. So if you vibe with that, give this video a like, comment what your interests are and what ideas you have. Go ahead and follow us.
We'll read all your comments, seriously. We're
this
very
is
excited.
episode 1, guys, video 1. We are just getting started. We're just learning how all of this stuff works, but I know there's a community of people who feel like we do and love this creepy, ooky, wooky, spooky stuff. And we want to vibe with you. We want to be your besties, right?
Yes.
You can be our besties, we'll be your besties. So if you like this at all, please support us any way you can. Share it. Get all your witchy coven friends here. Get all your creepy stuff here. I want to hear about it. I want to see it. I want to read about it. I want to know what we should talk about next. And I think that this video, if anything, we started local. I want to branch out, right? So let's start local and branch out.
Yeah.
Also, fair warning for all you naysayers. I return all negativity to sender by means of light, love, positivity. No naysaying.